Hey guys, Sirui sent me those lenses, the Sniper lenses. I got the 56mm, 23mm and the 33mm F1.2, the whole set. Those lenses, they sound super good on paper. It's all F1.2 aperture, around 400 grams per lens, so super lightweight, great for travel. But when you hear about the price, at first you think, okay, $350 around, that sounds awesome, I get it. But your second thought might be, it sounds a little bit too good to be true. So in this video I want to find out if they're actually too good to be true, so let's get into it. Before we even get started, there is one thing that you should know about those lenses if you got them already or if you want to get them. That is that the first thing you should do is to check the firmware and eventually upgrade it. Because like 2 weeks ago around, I visited my family in Germany and I got some shots with those lenses there and the footage came out super jittery. Then I went on the internet and read that there's already a firmware upgrade out there. I think it's version 1.06, where it says that the IBIS performance with those lenses gets improved. And after installing this firmware, it actually was buttery smooth like my other lenses. So that's the first step that you should take. Otherwise, don't wonder, or if your footage is already jittery that you got with those lenses, then that's the reason for that. And the firmware upgrade is actually super easy. You just take the lens off and you have a USB-C port here at the mount. And when you plug that into your computer, it appears as a hard drive, so you can just copy those firmware bin files over, eject the lens, and then the firmware upgrade gets automatically installed. I think that's the easiest way of doing that, and it's great that Sirui implemented that. But now I would say let's get into the testing. Okay, let's talk about the bodies. At first, they feel good overall, like they're all metal as far as I can tell. At least the white ones here, they also come in two other colors, the black ones, or like dark gray I would say, and those silver colors, which also look pretty cool. I like that they have these blue rings here and also a silver one on top that makes them look a bit nice, and the design is actually quite special. However, I would not say that they feel as premium or solid as other lenses that I know for Fujifilm and other cameras. Maybe they just did something to keep the weight a little bit down, which is appreciated in that case because I prefer having lower weight and therefore the lens feeling a little bit less quality than other lenses in my opinion. F1.2 is just what you buy these lenses for, right? Now we get Thai barbecue. I love Thai barbecue so much. It's so good here in the mountains. Back to the bodies, there's also no weather sealing included, which I think for that price is perfectly fine, and I don't actually care about that because from my experience you should always take care of your camera even if you have weather sealing when it's raining, because a few years ago I was filming for a company in Vietnam in monsoon rain and I thought that my camera and lens would be weather sealed, and it was, but it wasn't monsoon rain sealed. So after like half an hour or so in the rain, suddenly the shutter got stuck and I couldn't use my camera anymore at all. I had to pack it in a bag of rice for 3 days. Luckily it worked again, but well, it could also happen that it doesn't, and that's why today I would always bring a plastic bag and a rubber band to be sure that my camera and lens is covered. So even with lenses and cameras that have weather sealing, I would not trust it. I would still take care of that myself. So I'm okay with that, and no matter what lens you have, always bring a plastic bag and a rubber band or so if there could be rain on the way. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the build of those lenses. I think for that price, I can't do it much better. But let's now talk more about the video quality or picture quality overall, but mainly video because that's what this channel here is about. Good morning guys, just coming down here. This is so sick. Now we have fog everywhere. This area is called Chengdao. It's like north from Chiang Mai, 1.5 hours. And it's super nice. Like yesterday the sky was completely clear, as you could see, a lot of sun. Now we get this nice morning fog here. So good for taking videos and photos. And by the way, the vlogs are made on the Viltrox 13mm f1.4 lens. For that, those Sirui lenses are just a bit too close. But I heard some rumors that there's also a 13mm lens coming in the future, so maybe that's something that you want to look into. So, time for breakfast and a little talk about some tests that I run yesterday with those lenses in my lab or my home studio. It's not actually that professional. Good coffee here. I actually have rice soup here. I liked it very much here in the mountains of Thailand, but I'm on carnivore right now. I can only eat eggs and meat or fish. It's still great. I like meat and stuff, but I would really like to eat this rice soup now. No, beginning of the year, have to lose weight, right? So when it comes to lab testing, they don't look great. The sharpness is pretty low and also the contrast and the lower apertures, it becomes a lot better actually towards f2.8 and f4 already. And that's one thing that I want to note here is that if you, for example, use the kit lens before all the time or some f4 lenses or so, and you switch to those lenses, then you don't actually lose anything because you still get pretty good sharpness at those apertures, but you also have the option to step those lenses down. You lose a bit of contrast then and sharpness, but therefore you also get a lot more blur and the overall image gets a nice softness. And I must say I actually shot a lot here at higher apertures like f2, f2.8 especially, because I didn't bring ND filters now because I want to test the lenses without filters. And even at those higher apertures I got a decent amount of blur, especially of course on the 56mm, but also on the 33 here, because they are very soft overall. They give you a nice dreamy look, and I think that you don't actually have to shoot with those lenses all the time at f1.2 if you want to have a bit more sharpness in the in-focus regions. You can perfectly step those lenses down a little bit and you get very good and beautiful results actually, as you could see also here in those shots. A lot of them were actually not shot at f1.2. More coffee first. So I personally don't find the lower sharpness of those lenses that much of an issue. What I find more of an issue in some situations is the chromatic aberrations. They are quite pronounced. A few weeks ago, for example, I shot a YouTube thumbnail with one of those lenses. I think it was a 56mm, and I got a very strong chromatic aberration there at one edge, and it actually took me a bit longer than usual to fix it in post. However, there are also a few positives from the lab. At first, the vignetting is actually very good. Like, there is not much vignetting compared to other lenses, and those lenses also don't have many distortions, which can actually make a difference, because I'm not always sure if, when I shoot videos, if non-native lenses are corrected in the camera or not, or if there are distortions. I mean, if I don't see it, I also don't care about it. But, well, knowing that these lenses don't have many distortions in the first place is definitely better. So overall, from my initial testing, the results are rather average, maybe a little bit below, depending on how much you care about the sharpness and contrast at lower apertures. But for me, I don't really find it a big problem, because under real life conditions you can still shoot lots of great footage with those lenses. So let's have a look at some more shots. So let's talk about the quality of the Sirui Sniper lenses under actual shooting conditions. I got quite a few shots with them on my trip to Germany, and I must say, oh, my drone. Just shot a hyperlapse of my drone, it was finished. However, I got quite a few shots with the Sirui lenses on my trip to Germany, and honestly, there wasn't a single shot that I didn't like. Like, if I didn't like a shot, it was not the lens's fault, and that was my fault. Like, bad lighting or whatever, but it was never that I had the impression that the lenses give me a bad image or so. And before I got those shots, I did not do the lab test. Like, I didn't even know how those lenses would perform. So every time I was on my computer, I looked at those shots and I was like, wow, looks pretty good. So when it comes to actual shooting conditions, I think you will be perfectly fine with those lenses. And actually, I had the aperture low to f1.2 all the time. So if I would have noticed the low sharpness or the lack of contrast directly or so, then I would have noticed that directly. But there I couldn't see that. That's really more in the lab itself. Of course, if you have maybe professional photographers or so that constantly judge their photos and are pretty used to what they get from different lenses, maybe they would see that a little bit more. Also, when it comes to sharpness for videography, a lens basically only needs to resolve 12 megapixels when you shoot 4K, because that's overall what 4K resolution is on a 3x2 sensor. Also, what I recognized over time is that it becomes pretty difficult to actually review a lens, because if you have a lens that's clinically very perfect, like the Viltrox 27mm 1.2 for example, which is actually my favorite lens right now, there are many people on the internet that say, oh, this looks too clinical, we want to have a bit more character and stuff like that. But then when you have lenses like that have a bit more character, that are not optically perfect, then there are other people that say, oh yeah, that's not sharp enough and there's too much aberrations and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean. So it's actually very difficult to review lenses. That's why I would just say, like, hey, if you want to decide what lens you take, just have a look at the shots that people actually get with the lens and decide on that. If you like those shots, then yeah, get the lens. If you don't like those shots, then don't get it. And with those lenses here, I must say I like those shots. I don't like them that much as, for example, from the Viltrox 27mm f1.2, but this is also a very special lens. Like, for a very long time, I did not have a lens that I like as much as that. So overall, when it comes to the quality that these lenses produce, it's certainly not top-notch, but it also don't have to be, because it's only $350 again. But I must say, like, overall, I would put the lenses somewhere above average, simply because they have this f1.2 aperture. If you get certain photos with them, having this super shallow depth of field, this nice background blur, just makes your photos better. And because of that, I can actually forgive the lack of sharpness, etc. And again, like, for video, it also doesn't count that much for me. So yeah, if you're a video shooter, you definitely want to look into those lenses. Let's also do a little autofocus test. I'm at f1.8 aperture right now, because at f1.2 the shot would be totally overexposed with the ISO 1250 here from the Fujifilm X-H2S. So what do you think? How is it? Does it require focus quickly? I think it should. Like, from my experience over the past week, the autofocusing system actually works pretty good overall, especially when it comes to things like tracking subjects and also how fast it acquires the focus. However, I did a little experiment yesterday with my wife where I tracked her and I did a lot of movement there. There you can see a lot of stepping. Like, it always gets out of focus, then the focus acquires it again, then it gets back out of focus, but I was tracking it all the time. So that, I would say, is not really the camera's fault. However, I must also say that the same stuff happens with lots of other lenses, especially on the Fujifilm system that usually have those stepping motors. So it's not only those lenses, but it is a bit stronger on the Sirui Sniper lenses. But we also have to remember that it's their first autofocus lenses. Before, they always did manual focus, cine lenses, etc. So considering that, it's actually quite good. But yeah, if you do a lot of shots where you do tracking like that and you really need the focus to do a lot for you, then these are probably not the best lenses. But in that case, I would generally not go for Fujifilm. I think then you're better off with Sony, because there the autofocusing system is usually a bit better and smoother. Then back, yeah. I think it's quick enough. I've set these settings from the X-H2S to standard right now. You can also get the focus a little bit quicker if you want to, but I think standard settings here makes sense as well. You can try all settings, but that would go way too long. So yeah, how's the autofocus? Let me know in the comments below. Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah, now it's working. It's quite loud. So got our last shoot here. I used the 56mm for that to get the mountain in the background a bit closer. Looked super nice. So let's wrap this up here. I think overall those lenses are great. Of course, they're not perfect. They have their flaws, but considering what you pay for them, $350 motorbike. There's a car too. Still a bit loud. Okay, now it's good. Yeah, considering for $350, I think they are really great value, these lenses. Of course, if you have a little bit more money, you can get better. $200 more about for the Viltrox 27mm f1.2. Of course, it's not a 23, it's also not a 33, so you need to know what you need there. And all the other lenses, or many at least, they are usually like $600 to $1,000. And so considering what you get there for the price, I think it's totally worth it. And there's the next car coming. So yeah, these lenses get my total recommendations. I will use them more in the future. And if you're thinking of getting them, I don't think you will regret it. See you in the next video. Bye.